This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today on the episode, today's episode on the show, is this a show? It is a show. The Forgotten Art of Being a Gentleman. Now, I think this is, I was trying to piece it together going, how am I going to communicate this? And I'm like, well, I guess there is some sort of level of art, and it's not the subtle art, it's actually forgotten on some level. And why is that the case? And what is a gentleman? And so we're going to kind of pull that apart a little bit, and I suppose the importance of it, and it's the same for men and women, doesn't matter listening. So it's the same as the forgotten art of maybe being a woman, whatever the case might be. Probably not my specialty. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this though. And so where this sort of came to be important for me was when I kind of recognized that I wasn't a man. I was in my 20s. It wasn't that long ago, and I was actually speaking to a female when she was like, "Oh, okay, well, you're not a man," or she was a mentor, or was about to become a mentor. And funnily enough, not for too long, but that's a whole other conversation. And understanding that, I was sort of like, "Well, hang on a sec, what are you talking about?" And then I realized, and what I learned later on was that in today's society, men don't have a rites of passage. So there's no actual rites of passage of like death of the boy, birth of the man, in more of the Jungian sort of sense. And so what became interesting for me was to then learn about going, hang on a sec, you know, we talk about toxic masculinity so often, or a lapse of masculinity, and it's like, well, what the fuck is that? And so if you were to call someone a gentleman, it's like, oh, that's somewhat of a compliment, I suppose. But I'm like, hang on a sec, let's pull that apart. What is a gentleman? And it's like, okay, there's probably something in that. And I went about sort of learning for myself, going, okay, well, how can I become a gentleman? How can I become a noble man that is a contributor, that is fair, that is just, and be proud of myself for that, rather than, I suppose, just stumbling my way through a second type of puberty in my early 30s. So that's what I sort of went about going, and sort of finding out more about myself and what I needed to do to have death of the boy and birth of the man. And, you know, it was interesting and also quite challenging in learning that. And I'll share some references from Stoicism to Be a Man by Robert Masters and King Warrior Magician Lover. I'll reference them if I continue this conversation during the week. I suppose I'll reference them a bit more. But in short, I think we do have a lapse of healthy masculinity in our society. I don't think it's toxic, and unfortunately, the bad things that some men do is not a sign of masculinity. It is definitely a sign of weak men. And so what we need more of in today's society is strong men, not weak men. And so, well, what is that? Well, we have a lot of boys, a lot of men, a lot of adult males that walk around with boy psychology. It's like, well, how do we change that? It's like there's dependence on other people, often a mother figure, or, you know, the government, or whatever the case might be. So I suppose the biggest thing about this conversation is going, let's break down the forgotten art of being a gentleman. So let's define man. The whole idea, and you've definitely, if you've heard me talk a bit before, you would have heard a quote that I referenced Jordan Peterson on a Jocko Willink podcast, and he says, a good man is not a harmless man. A good man is a very, very dangerous man that has it under voluntary control. And so we start to look at what a man is. It's like, well, a man is somebody who is able to not be stoic in the sense of remove all emotions, but be stoic in the understanding that they are in control of their emotions, and they do not blame outside external events, people, things on their shortcomings. They take responsibility. They understand things that probably weren't their fault, and they take responsibility to things that they can take responsibilities for. It's like, I think a definition, if someone in the public eye, was it going to be a good man? There's plenty of them, but I'd definitely look at someone like The Rock, right? Dwayne Johnson. He is a big guy, and not everyone can be that big, and that's fine, whatever. You don't have to be that big. The thing about Dwayne is that he sort of is this aura of manliness, but at the same time, if you have a look and if you follow him on Instagram or any social media channel, you'll see it. He's so gentle. He has daughters that he dress up in Pikachu outfit for their birthday parties, and so you see this guy that is literally is this sort of like archetype of manliness that is so gentle, and it literally is gentle in the term of being able to never have to use that force, and hopefully ever, right? And so the whole idea here is that we should encourage men to continually become more dangerous in the sense that they're able to take care of themselves and control and learn how to use their bodies and learn how to use their minds, but more importantly, be moralistic and virtuous and make sure they never have to actually use it. And it's not because they have to go out there against all the threats, but it means that they're in control of themselves. Being weak is not actually in control of anything. Right? They're not in control of themselves. Being weak doesn't automatically like make you some sort of great person because you can't do any harm, because as soon as there's a knife or something in someone's hand, whatever that tool or utensil is, if that person has not become virtuous, moralistic, then that person is no longer somebody who could potentially be harmless, right? And so the most important thing for a man to do is, yes, sure, go to the gym, do that kind of stuff, but get your fucking head in a book, right? Read about the great men of the history. Read about what men moving forward need to become. Read about all the shit that you have that's part of your insecurities and learn how to work through them. This is one of the biggest things that people need to know, is that emotional intelligence is not the absence of emotion. It is your ability to understand them and communicate them necessarily. So, or as necessary, right? Let me go through that again. Being emotionally intelligent, which is a manly trait as well, it's masculine and feminine, is not the absence of emotion. It is the understanding of them. And this is crucial because when we understand them, we're able to move through them. When we understand them and move through them, we're able to teach other people, such as, the next generation, how to do that as well. And this is leadership. This is the idea of being a man is not the absence of emotion, it's the understanding of it, and that is so crucial. And this is why, going back to the whole idea of using someone like The Rock, is this big individual, or powerful, let's use that term, powerful in the sense of not dominating, powerful in the sense that they're able to be there. They can walk into a room and confidence is not going, I hope or everyone likes me. It is, I don't need people to like me. And the more that we can be in that place, the more that we can teach other people to be in that place. And so it's like when we see a large animal that's soft or gentle, or it's so powerful because it has this ability to be destructive and it chooses not to. And this, my friends, is beautiful. But it's the idea of becoming like this role model. And look at the word role model, right? A role model is going, what role does that person play in society and how can I model it, right? That's what a role model is. And so for us men, it is our responsibility to do the research and continually unravel and become better men for society, right? For the people in our inner society, our inner circle, for ourselves, but for society as a whole, right? And we need to do that by becoming like having this internal authority of going, well, I need to know what decisions are within my realm so I can take responsibility, the ability to respond for those decisions, and know when to pass off and not take over responsibility for other people's, right? And this is crucial as well, because that's the way I look at my partner, and there's certain things that I go, maybe I should step in here, and I'm like, no, she's fine. I don't need to go in and take her wins. I don't need to go in and make decisions for her. She's fine. That's not a part of my responsibility. And if she makes a mistake, that's okay. She can learn. And who defines the mistake? Not me. That's her. And so having this internal authority is crucial because we then allow everyone around us to have internal authority. Now, it's so crucial. One of the most important things about being a centered masculine role model for society is being firm, fair, and compassionate. Right? And you look at the 4 virtues of Stoicism, which is courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. And if you are intelligent, emotionally inside, intelligent within these virtues, we start to see good men arise. And this is where firm, fair, and compassion comes into play. If you haven't already, I'll repeat it again. Get your head around King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. I think that's a fantastic book by 2 Jungian psychologists. And the last things I'm going to leave with this whole conversation about the forgotten art of being a gentleman is that we must lose the ego. We must, above all, lose the mask, lose the persona. Stop being what you think other people want you to be and be who you are. Right? And this is the whole message that I have, the unbecoming, unbecome who you are not, because it's the complexes that we have they're our lessons. They're the lessons that have been gifted to us to move through, to understand, to become better leaders. Do not go quietly into the dark and shut the fuck up. Make sure you move through your own insecurities. Get assistance where necessary. We live in a world now where there's no excuse not to, right? Put your hand up. Tell people that you're swimming as hard as you can, but you're still drowning. There's people out there, myself included, and that are there to make sure we can keep people becoming better leaders, right? And sometimes we struggle, and that's okay. That's normal. It's a part of the fucking process, and that's part of it's a badge. Unfortunately, it's a badge on your shoulder, but you got to keep moving through it, and that's why a good society supports people moving through that and gives them the opportunity to throw them a life raft from time to time so they can learn how to swim their way. I think, look, I could keep pulling this apart. I might have a few more this week on this point. I think that's what I'll end up doing because it's 11 minutes in already. So I'm going to tie it up there. But look, team, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I really do hope you got something out of this. And if you did get something out of it, it would mean the world to me if you would pass on to somebody else that you think would also get something out of it. If you haven't already, check out the Mood Prep online. So it's actually in the description of this podcast. You'll see the memberships, which is the Human Movement membership, which basically puts you into a Facebook group, and that's where I do a Q&A each month. I go through and give you extra content from my seminars and everything, such as a conversation continuing on from all of this. And I'll put a couple of references this week in relation to this content in there as well. So, but look, team, that's me. I'm done. Thank you very much for tuning in. I fucking love your faces. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.